Hey you, AG, hope everyone's doing well. So on this video, top 5 benefits of stacking silver, I'm going to be going over exactly that. So if you've got any benefits that you have come across stacking silver, don't have to be your top 5, but would love to know down below in the comments what stacking silver has done for you and how it's benefited you and any benefits you think somebody can most definitely gain from. And as I've said in the past, I've had a few comments down below in recent videos. I'm going to be focusing on the positives. So my ratio is still more in favor of gold over silver. But, I've said anything that could be perceived as negative in previous videos. And I'm saying up front now that I'm focusing on the positives. I do stack silver. I am a holder of silver, so I'm not one of those that went absolutely, beep against it. So I'm just focusing on the positives and the positives that I've had. So I'm going to be mentioning my top 5 benefits of stacking silver. Would love to know yours down below in the comments, and just focusing on the positives moving forward, as I've said before. So if you like what you hear / see and you haven't done so, please do like and subscribe. And also, once again, please do consider hitting the join button and becoming one of the League of Shadows. Things definitely will heat up in the coming days. Got a lot more time on my hands as going back into lockdown-ish and not looking so active towards the end of the year. So definitely expect a lot more coming up on all angles. So yes, most definitely let me know down below what your top benefits have been stacking AG, the shiny metal right here, and I'll display some of these lunar coins that I've had in hideout for a long time that I've just recently come across doing some of an audit. So first and foremost, I would say one of my first benefits from stacking silver, as in bulk, it was one of the first metals that I picked up in bulk, would most definitely be it helped me understand real money. When you step out of the fiat system, everybody gets into stacking for their own personal reasons, whether it's looking at their savings, looking at their pensions, their IRAs, and just realizing it's not going to be looking too good at a later date, seeing their wealth erode, keeping it in some type of savings account, and understanding it could be then that you come across all that light bulb can switch on, and you think, if I keep my wealth in whichever fiat currency that may be, I'm going to lose my wealth. And then it takes you on that journey. Along that journey, you can come across physical. If you come across physical, it's the top 2 bad boys are going to be gold and silver. And a lot of the time when a lot of people are doing their research, especially if you YouTube little researching, you come across a lot of material out there. But it's also, I would say, it's a combination of both, good and bad. So it's definitely a minefield for somebody doing their own due diligence, listening to somebody else. But regardless, you're going to come across a lot of good, helpful stuff. Teaching you what real wealth is. A lot of people, you're definitely not taught that in the schools I went to. You're not taught what real wealth is. You're basically taught to and raised to work within the system and, support the system and keep the system going forever. You're not taught to really see what type of an illusion the system is. You're just taught to cheerlead for the system. And stacking and aiming, and it was a lot of the research was done when I was focusing on silver, and it helped me understand. So that's definitely one benefit, that if you've come along, you found silver for whichever reasons, let me know down below how you came across silver, and and then did it help you understand what real money was? Because ultimately, in the end of the day, silver's always going to be silver. AG is always going to be AG. We've had many different versions before as it's been regurgitated out there. So, when the paper erodes, Thanos click, it gets moved on to the next. This is still going to be here. And as I've mentioned before in previous videos, if it's chocolates, buttons, this will still be where your real wealth will always lay. So it definitely helped me understand what real wealth was and what real money was. And prior to that, I could have easily been sleeping. I've always known gold was for kings, and everybody wants to have some gold. It's one of those things that's like, ooh, gold. But getting deep and down and getting your fingers into the knowledge pool and understanding what real wealth is comes about when you're doing deep due diligence. So that was one of the main pluses for me when I was getting into silver and just got into stacking heavily. So next, I would say, is that silver introduced a new hobby to me. I'm not big on the old hobby things. I'm not even big on a lot of the things you're supposed to be big on. That, like sport wise, anything with a ball really isn't my thing. I'm mainly into more contact sports. So it'd be stuff like boxing and MMA and stuff like that, or stuff that some would consider boring. I could easily go fishing any day of the week. But in terms of hobbies outside of that, I don't have many. There's some I could easily get into and like, but you need to pick yourself up and put yourself in that type of atmosphere, and I just don't have the time to do that. So once I've got into silver stacking, as you can see right here, believe it or not, these are collector coins, and it's technically a hobby. Collecting coins is no different than collecting comics, Beanie Babies, some would refer to, bottle caps, as I mentioned in the past. So it introduced a new hobby to me by accident, maybe so. In the beginning, you just want to protect your wealth and do the right thing and put your savings into real money. But then along the way, you get drawn deeper down into the silver hole, and it can be good and it can be bad. If you do it right, if you do it wrong. Looking at some of these old coins, Luna 2 at one point, which was damn near priceless. But good or bad, it introduces you into a good hobby, because one that's always going to have intrinsic value is put out there. So I felt good. I don't feel bad. I've overspent on coins, whether it be high premium or not. And I've got coins for a great steal, and those coins I'll always hold on to, whether I'm bashing them or not, because they are what they are. These are some it would take a real good price, or a real big increase in price for me to liquidate these. But nevertheless, as you can see from different years, I'm not sure these was all picked up in one fell swoop. It's got me picking up and getting involved in something that was manufactured to get people who collect. And I jumped on board of that, even if it was for ER reasons, to cowboy flip, or just for profits. I was involved. So I was an active participant. You've got to be in it to win at it, and I'm in it. So that would definitely be another positive, and that's if you go deeper into the hole and get into the collector side of things. So next, I would say it introduced a new discipline to myself in a new field. We're all disciplined to a degree, whether it's somebody's dieting, somebody's put a new regime into their life of working out. Those are normally the top things that people get disciplined into, whether you're studying for a new course or a new approach in life. It takes a lot of discipline, especially when you're older. It's easy when you're younger, or if you've got kids, when you want to introduce stuff into their life, they absorb it like nothing when they're kids, when they're younger. But it's just like driving. In the beginning you do it all right, but then you pick up a whole bunch of bad habits the longer you've been doing it. Would you pass your driving test today? I think I would, but I'd have to really restrain myself from a lot of the bad habits that I've picked up. But it introduces a new discipline to you in a new field. Not saying I was absolutely reckless with money prior to getting into this, but I was absolutely reckless. There was a point where I've been absolutely reckless. I hope we've all been there, and spunked on things that didn't require to be spunked on, literally. But so if you get into this, it's definitely going to help you, because you want to get more of you if you're on board of some of the things I've mentioned, i.e. now being part of your collector, or a new hobby for you. If you know it's your real wealth, you want to be putting your funds in towards this, and you see it growing, and you appreciate it a lot more. And when the bad happens, and it's going to happen inevitably, i.e. The printing presses go kaboom, you've got your money in a fantastic arena, place and vehicle. And that's what it most definitely done for me. So it gave me a new discipline stacking this stuff. So next, I would say, hopefully I'm on the fourth one here, I believe, is I would say it helped open my eyes, and this here would be important, because this is when you see a lot of people go rogue. I've labeled them the Incredible Hulk stackers, because you won't like them when they're mad. But as I mentioned before, you've got to be in it to really benefit or lose from it. And I'm involved. I'm actively involved. When I say it helped open my eyes on your journey of doing your own due diligence, if you're YouTube guruing, listening to channels like myself or any other channel, you're going to hear numbers thrown out there. and you can choose to, sit down, cross your arms and legs and accept, or you can choose to be a lot more active. And that's where I am in a lot of fields. I do a lot of questioning. I don't really take a lot of things on face value. I question and I research, and that's just that. I apply that to every aspect of my life, and being actively involved, when you hear numbers thrown out like that, 4, 5, 6 digits, and it's going to surpass and be the king of metals. If you wasn't involved and if you wasn't constantly questioning, I've questioned on all aspects of it. So I've done from individuals like myself, whichever level I may be, from people just starting into collecting, inquiring as to why they're collecting, spoken with dealers as to why they believe it may go up, it may go down. And at the end of that, I wouldn't say, well, I've come to a conclusion, whereas when I first walked through the silver door, I was one of those that believed it was going to be infinity and beyond. But whereas I've simmered down a lot more now. Can we pass the all-time high? Yes, I most definitely believe that can be the case. Can we go higher and higher? Anything's possible. Right now, I'd easily call the current climate, world politics, one big circus show. So, if you want things to act and play out like how it would if it wasn't such a joke, i.e. all world leaders, then, we may be seeing something absolutely different. So anything's possible. We may all expect when the plate drops, it smashes, and then, it's time to replace the plate. But, next thing you know, you'll be told to use the micro pieces on the floor and move forward from there. Anything is possible when anything is put out by a lot of the people in charge. But saying that, it helped open my eyes into, whereas before I thought and absolutely just accepted to be true, it was infinity and beyond. But being an active participant, I don't believe that's the case no more. But let me know if you've come across silver, but had a certain thought or way or understanding of it when you first got into it, but then stacking it for over a period of time changed that. And now let's not forget, some people can get into this for the short term. They can get into it and believe it's going to shoot up in price, and then I don't know what they think within the time period they've got into it. But you need to understand, metals is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I think once you understand that and take that on board, it can help you understand it a lot better and a lot more. And this is why I'm not an angry stacker, an Incredible Hulk stacker. I can see it for what it is in its long terms, and it may take very, 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 very long, and it could be tomorrow. But it's always that analogy. Do you want to be 10 years before or one day late, no matter, depending on how you look at that. So last and not least, I would say another plus or benefit for myself has been that it's brought me awesome profits. Not looking at it like it's a get rich quick scheme or something like a stock or a crypto asset, but it has been to a degree, especially when I'm displaying the pieces I'm displaying here, and also getting in for when you get in. It can work wonders for you. There's been times I've put the question out there, if you was to do an audit of your stack right now from the day you started to the day you do that audit, would your stack be in the green or the red? Well, we know you're going long. We know it's not something that you care about, even though you do, if you're technically watching the gold to silver ratio or the spot price. But there's been days when I have liquidated some silver and I was up in the green, way up in the green, and I've taken those profits and worked with it. So it's definitely worked for me in my favor. I got in at a favorable time and I got out at a favorable time. So those would be my top 5 benefits of stacking silver. Once again, I would love to know your benefits of stacking silver, any eye-opening accounts that you've come across, and also anything that you think anybody or new stacker would need to know. So let me know down below in the comments. If you like what you heard and seen, once again, please do like and subscribe, and also please do consider joining the League of Shadows. I've left a link to the join if you can't see the join button, and I'll catch you guys on the rebound.